are on today to explore an awesome topic, very common. You're here with Raluca and
I am Sally Madi. Thank you for tuning in. I'm very excited to talk about today's topic. It's very close to my heart and it's a very common topic, the problems that we face in motherhood. And we both are moms. So we have a lot to share with you, but stay with us till the end because this is the fun part and the exciting part when we share 10 simple actionable steps that you can use on your daily basis to tackle any problems you face or the majority of the problems you face. You don't want to miss that.
definitely, definitely. So, Sally, moms, what is the reason we are tackling this topic?
So my niche as a life coach is to help moms redefine their personal and professional paths and find balance in their life. So there are different problems that each of us tackle on a different levels and in the different stages of motherhood. And this is where I focus with my client on finding the balance, going back to work, working from home, managing life with all the hectic and stressful scenarios in it.
This sounds absolutely amazing. Can I ask you what made you choose it?
It relates so much with me and how the past few years have been for me and what I would have loved to have done differently or what I would love to have given guidance with.
That's a good word, guidance. Yeah. Let's dig into that a little bit. I would ask you, what are the major or the most common issues that a mom faces that nobody really talks about much?
Do you know what? There is no little or big problems. Everyone's problems are unique and personal for them. But to me, there are three pillars to the problems in life of motherhood. One being present, two is communication, three is self-care. And that can branch to a hell lot of forest.
Nicely said. Nicely said. Let's start with the first one, being present. What does it mean?
I'm sure you've had that before when you're putting your son, not putting him to bed, but if you are giving him a bath and then you're thinking of dinner,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
thinking of what's next, what went well, tomorrow, and we call that multitasking. But in
Yeah,
fact, I feel that takes us away from the moment.
it does.
And sometimes we regret it. I remember when I used to breastfeed my eldest daughter, and then I thought, oh, that's me time. I'm going to go through my messages and chat to my friends or do my online shopping or emails, whatever it is on my phone, checking the news, anything. But then years later, I have regretted that so much because I've missed the bond. I've missed that time with her, maybe when she was smiling and I didn't realize.
Yeah.
So the being present is in anything, is when we're trying to do million things at a time, but we only need to do one.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
experienced that before?
Well, yeah, a moment just popped in my mind. Thank you for asking. As you know, I got divorced when my son was quite small. And like every boy, he wanted to play football. So I would have come home from work and we would have started playing football. But my mind wasn't there. And now it feels kind of painful. There were just moments when I was really there and enjoying his smiles and happiness of playing football with me. But most of the times I was still running reports in my head and written emails and answering phone calls, work phone calls while I was playing football with him. Yeah.
It just robs the joy,
Yeah, it does.
robs the
It
joy of
does.
living them. And you know what I'm thinking? It's not only as moms, but also as a working mom. That's the same case. If
Yeah.
you're working on a task and you're thinking about your children doing this or what if, and then so you're not focusing on the task either. So it works both ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have let's say the chores with the kids or whatever they need is a task, focusing on that, giving them attention, move on to the next thing. Or maybe you can, and that you can share with your kids, like, mommy's going to play with you football for 10-15 minutes, and then have to do my work. And then you're freeing space in your head, actually.
Yeah, that's a very good
And
tip,
it works the
actually.
same way. And then it works the same way. If you're at work, I'm going to focus on that, and then I'm going to message my son, for instance. But it's allowing your head to think of one thing at a time. It releases so much of the tension and stress in our brains. We're just creating space.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, actually. You mentioned communication. What can you tell me about that? What's going on with moms
We
and communications?
again, from a personal experience, I haven't been communicating my needs enough with the people around me. And that was adding to my overwhelming stress and exhaustion because they didn't know I needed time. The people are like, whether that's my husband or my family or support group, anyone. So we need to communicate our needs as well as our boundaries.
Very good word.
Um, I remember when I was a mom for the first time, and then my mom would want to help. I felt so bad because I didn't accept the help. I
Hmm.
felt, no, I'm the perfect mom. I have to be the perfect mom. I have to do everything for my daughter, and I can't take a break, and I can't do this, and like on a mission. But I did not communicate that with my husband either until you just drain. And that's it. You haven't got anything else to give, no more energy left in you.
Yeah. I would want to dig a little bit into this not communicating for a while with people about how you feel or what you need. I'm curious, after a long time of keeping everything inside and let it pile up, how does the initial communication go?
Oh, I've had enough. I can't
Mm,
do it anymore. Like you bottling it up and then boom, volcano.
yeah, I'm
But
sure.
if you were communicating before the piling happens, I'm sure it would be a smoother communication and conversation, and maybe it will be accepted both ways better.
Indeed. I'm sure many moms relate to I have enough and I can't do it anymore,
And also
unfortunately.
asking for help. So if I went back in time and my mom would offer to help, and using communication, I would maybe have shared that, let me have a go, mom. And if I'm struggling, I'll get back to you. So, the wording that we use is so powerful. But I
Mm,
didn't do that. Instead, I was just rejecting any help at some point until it was just enough. But also, going back to the working moms, who I love and help dearly,
mm,
communication is key. You need to communicate with your colleagues, with your boss, with your boundaries, your needs, and your working hours. If you're
yeah.
working from home as well, that's a big thing that you need to communicate with your colleagues, especially holiday times. Okay, maybe you will need some adaptation to your schedule and communication with your children. So communication is just if we branch it, it's gonna
Yeah.
be everywhere because communication goes with your children in their development as well as when you're working. You need to communicate your timetable with them, your to-do list with them.
I actually have a story here. I remember when I got back to work, my son was quite small, was 1 year and a half. And my schedule wouldn't have allowed me to take him to kindergarten. And basically, I had to adjust to his schedule. And I had a chat with my then inline manager. And I told him what's going on. And I told him that I'm happy to complete all the hours because I could actually, as long as I could have taken him to kindergarten in the morning and take him back home in the evening. And it was possible. It was possible. It was harder for me in a way, but I could juggle around being a mom, taking care of my son, and work. It
Mm,
became a reality. It became possible. Even if I thought at the beginning, that's not gonna work, he's not gonna agree. Yeah, he did, it worked, everything went well. So, yeah, things are possible with communication. But,
absolutely. Which takes me to just to briefly here to thinking of what you can control. And you can control how you communicate, when will you communicate, and the words you will use, which make a huge difference in the communication process. I'll just give you an example I've tried with my son. When he started school, we used like any child would come back from school very tired, very exhausted, and then that affects my mood and my energy level, and whatever I had planned to do after for work doesn't get done, blah blah blah. It's just a vicious cycle. And I've realized instead of asking him the question that triggers him the most, which is, how was your day? And then again, that volcano bursts. I've started asking him, what has been your favorite part in your day today? And you've kind of taking his brain to a positive area automatically anyway. And that has been a game changer. He would just tell me everything positive, everything that went well, goes back home, still energized and in that moment. So,
I would like to add something to what you said. The fact that you were asking him what went well, it wasn't just shifting the way you communicated with him, but at a mindset level, you were basically helping him to focus on the positive. And we all
absolutely.
know what's going on when we look at the bright side.
Exactly that.
I couldn't miss
And
that.
of course, and you mentioned in your story that you were actually able to balance life,
Mm, yeah.
which takes me to a huge challenge that many of the moms require help with. When I go back to work, will I actually manage my time? How will I manage my time? What will happen if da 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 da? And balancing time, managing time, work with work-life balance is a huge topic.
It
It's a
is.
huge
It
problem.
is. And that's one more thing, I guess, that affects moms, but they don't realize it for a long time. That me time. What's going on with the me
Mm,
time when you're a mom?
that's my third problem, which is the self-care. Um, and I think this is just the foundation. If you get that right, everything else builds up perfectly on top. It starts when you're a mom and a new mom and you feel guilty of maybe having a 10-minute bath or handing your child, I'm going back to my example, accepting help from mom, handing your child to someone while you're go for a walk, talk to a friend, go for lunch, or I had a client who was saying that she felt guilty letting her husband look after the children on his day off while she could go swimming.
That's another thing that I want to add here. I don't want to forget.
Mm.
What about when you want to use the toilet or have a shower and your little one pops in the bathroom and stares at you while you're in the toilet? A thing that I've
This is simple
experienced.
self-care. Well, if I have to share, I had to take my child who was breastfeeding and just visit the toilet because this is the only option sometimes.
Yeah, well, I ended up very constipated for a long time because I couldn't go while he was staring at me until I said, okay, he doesn't get anyway what I'm doing. If he wants to be there and he feels safe to be there, I have to get used to that and retrain my body to
Yeah.
work in that condition as well. That's a funny
If
one,
you
actually.
were, maybe if we advise the new moms to laugh in that moment instead
Mm,
of stressing out, that's a very common one.
Yeah, but not many people
And
are
you
talking
stink for
about it.
days. If you're not showered for days, for new moms, that's
Mm,
okay. That's okay. You will laugh afterwards, like us now, on
yeah.
what happens. But yes, self-care is crucial. And it could be as little as we said, 10 minutes to yourself, 10 minutes, lock yourself up in a room, do anything you want, or spend a day with your friend. But the energy you will feel and afterwards is phenomenal. And it will just give you the boost to carry on doing whatever you were doing, even better. And as we shared, fill your own cup first
Mm.
before pouring into any other cups, and like
We
put your
mentioned this
own
before.
oxygen mask first.
Yeah.
And
I have a story here actually with this me time because I was obviously like most of the moms feeling guilty, not having time to have a shower and feeling like I'm so dirty and I stink and all of it. Um, I decided one day to wake up very early and I started waking up at 5 a.m. Um, and have an hour to shower, to cream, to do my hair, my makeup, my whatever. I can't tell you what difference that made for me, how energized I started to feel at the beginning of each day without robbing myself or taking myself away from my son when he was awake. It was incredible. Hard at the beginning, but it worked. It worked very well. Everybody was sleeping at the time. I was showering and creaming and drinking my coffee, and huge difference.
it's
Huge
because
difference.
you realized how much you needed that free time.
Mm,
You would do anything to gain it, to enjoy it. And it's brilliant how you manage to find an alternative to your day just to do something for you. And this is what it's all about. If we just stop and think, it reminds me of when your laptop just sends you a message saying rebooting needed, restart now. This is what we need to do.
yeah,
Restart our brains to think of different ways, alternatives, different perspectives that will change something. This is what you have control over. This is it. You
simple
can't
as
control
that.
when your child cries, or you
Mm,
can't control when you can have help, but you can control finding time for you, and asking for help is within your control. Whether you
yeah,
get it or not, it doesn't matter, but this is what you can control. I
definitely.
wanted to ask you, Raluca,
Mm.
for as a single mom, how did you find these challenges, managing your time?
Well, it was obviously very challenging. My job was a challenging one. I was working in telecommunication back then. I would have received phone calls from colleagues or clients whenever, literally whenever. I would have had to work sometimes mid of the night because we were launching a new Apple model. Anyway, it was difficult. It was very difficult. And I remember many times I was feeling drained, guilty, sometimes shouting, which I'm not very proud of. Um, but in terms of finding time, I started to put my phone on silent for half an hour, for example. Just half an hour. Nothing, the world won't end in that half an hour. I started developing a routine with my son at evening. Every evening, we would have watched cartoons like, I don't know, Cars or Ice Age. Every evening, we had that time together. I remember we were laying in his bed because if he would have fallen asleep, I could have just leave slowly without waking him
Mm.
up. Um, It wasn't easy. I remember for years I had an Excel file with my expenses because budgeting was a huge one for me. As a single mom, I had to control the uncontrollable. I had to foresee issues. that could have appeared and budget for that as well. And yeah, it was, when I look back now, it was hard. I didn't realize how hard it was, but my son told me something last summer after his GCSEs, and when he had the ball and everything, I I went and picked him up from the prom, and when we got home, he didn't get off the car. Instead, he turned around and he told me, I have to admit that you did a pretty great job as a single mom. Ooh,
Wow.
I can feel it now as well. I'm proud. I did it.
Definitely should be. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which takes me to a point that I want to mention. When you first become a mom, you have a lot of imposter syndromes and negative
Oh,
thoughts about,
yeah.
will I fail as a mom? And then you start comparing yourself to other moms
Mm,
in and that comparison is sometimes not healthy because everyone has got different problems.
yeah, and we are different
Everyone has got
characters,
different issues.
and the kids are
But that
different.
negative thought, absolutely, and the negative thoughts that you constantly think of, um, like I'm not a good mom, I'm not good at my job, I can't go back, I haven't got the skills anymore. That builds up stress, and that
Mm.
stress gets transmitted to your children.
There is one more thing that I'd like to add here that I'm pretty sure many moms experience. I'm no longer attractive for my husband. I've heard it not once because of that lack of self-care and that lack of me
Mm,
time and being unable to shower and having to smell like food because you have to cook and everything. I think that's a thing that impacts moms a lot, but nobody
mm,
talks much about it.
that's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. But that comes from self-love as well. Watch our episode about self-love.
Yeah. Yeah, the Valentine's Day, I think it was, right?
Yeah, yeah. If we speak about every single problem, we're going to be here until next year.
Yeah.
And the problem, like now, in my kids are 12 and nearly 12 and 8. I am their taxi driver, and that's
Mm.
another problem because my day has to be a certain in like the timetables change differently toward according their schedule. I have my laptop sometimes in the car while I'm watching my son plays football and carry on with work. But in the past, it was worse because I wasn't communicating. I wanted to do it all, take them to every club, every birthday, without including my husband. And then I just couldn't do it anymore. But once we shared, I said, I need help. And we shared responsibilities. Things have been much, much better.
Yeah.
So this is why I said there are many, many problems, whether it's budgeting, whether it's self-care, self-love. Be present, communicate, self-care. I believe these are the three pillars that if you tackle them, you tackle the majority of the problems.
You did, you do. And as we head towards the end, let's talk about those tips and tricks
Mm.
and
I
actionable
wouldn't call them
steps.
tips. Yeah, just because, as we said many times, everyone's different and the circumstances are different. But self-care goes in the top, and that is not spending time on your phone or social media because we need to detox. You need to switch off.
Give me an example about switching off
Uh,
to allow mom to figure out what we are talking about.
so if you, for instance, put your kids to bed and then instead of flicking through your phone, and that's creating more load, more mental load, close your phone, turn it off, shut it down completely, and meditate, listen to music, read a book, anything you want. Maybe have a conversation with your partner or whoever with you in the house. Make yourself a nice cup of tea.
Simple as that.
But it's just simple and it's not expensive. It's something you have at home. I'm not saying put the kids to bed and go out every night or go on a spa day every weekend. This is amazing, and we need it as well. But on a daily basis, ask yourself, what have I done for myself today?
And
It
if the
doesn't need
answer
to be in
is
the
no,
evening.
do something.
Do something immediately.
Yeah.
Anything, have a chat with your friend. But if you're just completely flicking through Instagram and comparing yourself with these amazing models, fake models, or
Mm,
news that bombard your brain,
let me
that's a
stop you
lot.
there. You use the word. You use the word and I can't ignore it. Fake.
Yes, they
There
are.
are a lot of people that are posing in something that they are not. And luckily, everything surfaces. Unfortunately, I've seen a story of a perfect mom from USA, which was actually arrested and convicted for massively abusing her children. She was perfect on Instagram. She had masses of followers, hundreds of thousands. Beautiful, exceptional. No, she wasn't. She's in jail now. So yeah, fake.
Which takes me to point number two, perfectionism.
Mm.
Sometimes letting go of perfectionism isn't a bad thing. You don't need to be the perfect mom because there is no perfect.
Mm.
You're just a mom, and it's an amazing job as it is. So appreciate it and have self-compassion. No comparison. You don't need to compare yourself to those perfect fake moms or to anyone in your community because everyone's different.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one.
And third point would be remembering my favorite, control versus no control. What you can control here in this situation on any scale, on communication level with your children or at work. Don't waste your energy and time on things you cannot control. You can control your language, you can control your mind, you can control your actions, your words, but you can't control anything apart from that.
Yeah, I think that's a very strong point because there are many moms who want other people to do certain things, but they cannot make them. And that's part of things that you can't control.
You
Focusing
can't
on
even make
that,
your own children.
yeah, focusing on that, it's only gonna get you to feel overwhelmed, stressed, anxious, frustrated. But why not focusing on what you can control? On yourself.
As I just said, you can't control even your own children and their actions.
Indeed.
Another quick story here to share. When I would say to my son, you need to do your homework now, sit down and do it. And he didn't like that I'm giving him orders. Like he wasn't ready at that time. So instead, I used to, yeah, he's a stubborn one. I started saying, you have a homework. When you feel like it, do it. And if you need help, I'm here for the next hour. First time, he didn't do it in the first hour and then asked me 5 minutes after the hour. I said, I'm sorry, but I said I only have an hour. The week after, homework time, same thing. So he was clever. 10 minutes before the hour ends, oh, mommy, can you do the homework? So I said, okay, we can do it, but I only have 10 minutes. The week after, I'm like, you have homework. Remember, it's Thursday and you need to do your homework today. I didn't even finish the work and he was just doing it to get it done with and enjoy the rest of his evening. So you can't control his reaction, but I was sharing my boundaries
Mm.
and this is it. Respect them and be strict with them.
Yeah, that's another thing that moms tend to ignore out of love for their children. They sometimes get over permissive against their own word. That's the problem. If you say you're gonna do something, but you won't, guess what your child will know? I can do whatever, mom is still not gonna do what she said. And that's the message you're sending to your child. And after that, years after, maybe you wonder, why don't they listen? Why don't they? because you didn't keep your word. Simple as that.
Exactly that. And this is the fourth point, communicating your boundaries with your children, with your parents, with your family, with your work, anything, sharing with them. I remember at the time I wanted to do everything like in my free time because on maternity, I thought, okay, I have free time. Let me help my parents here. Let me do this for this person. I was overloading myself with things. So people thought, okay, she can do it. Let's ask for more. Let's push more. Until it reached a point where people's needs were before my kids' needs. And this is when I was like, no, that's it. There have to be boundaries drawn, and I have to be strict with them. And then people will automatically respect me
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
respect the boundaries.
It's
And the
hard
fifth
because
point
sometimes to
is,
reach that point, you need to be in a sort of pain, a frustration, something that goes wrong. I'm not afraid to use the word. I mean,
and
when
be
you
able to
feel,
say no.
yeah,
It's the shortest word, but the strongest. And point five is invest in a support group. That could be, I don't know, if you don't want family and friend or people around you, there are so many moms groups. There are so many school groups that you can join for advice. For you can even Facebook groups that you can post anonymously if you didn't want to. It takes a village to raise kids.
oh
It
yeah,
doesn't only take one person. So investing and asking for help and accepting that help is great. If you're a single mom, I'm sure you've had that. You needed maybe other parents to help with pickup at days or your neighbors
yeah,
to look after your child.
it,
I'm sure it's okay to invest in those support groups. And you've moved countries as well, Raluca, which
yeah. That was a tough one.
you said it before. Yeah, because you said it before. We are social creatures. We don't want to be alone, but it's okay. It doesn't mean you're not perfect if you're asking for help.
One more thing that is quite important while your kids grow up, to set responsibilities for them. For example, because you mentioned me moving countries, I couldn't use the money I had in my Romanian bank account, for example, to rent here. So what happened at the beginning, I had to work a lot to fill up my UK bank account so I can rent. I had to have money for a deposit that should have come from an employer, not from my another bank account. I couldn't take my son to school and back. So he had this responsibility, which was a new one for him. And also he had the responsibility to message me when he arrived at school and message me when he arrived back home. So I know what's going on with him, where he was, and that he was okay. It's a good thing to set up responsibilities based on their age and capabilities. Yeah, don't send them to work when they are 5, but they can definitely get all the toys together in a basket since they are 2. So, yeah,
And
that's
also part
another
of the
thing that
support
frees
group
your
is
space. Yeah,
absolutely. And also part of the support group is if it's okay to ask for professional help.
yeah,
Whether if you are in special needs or your child, or even just for advice from a health visitor or from a consultant or from anything,
from a
any
coach.
approach from a coach, any approach that you think is appropriate. That's a great investment
Yeah,
to
yeah.
you and to your children. And then the sixth point would be the self-compassion, because I wish I told myself it's okay to be wrong, to do mistakes, to maybe think as I have failed for a short time, but learn from it. Don't dwell in it.
Yeah.
So pick yourself up quickly. And self-compassion obviously goes hand in hand with self-care, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And being kind to yourself, it's another one that fits in self-compassion. Be
Yeah,
kind to yourself. It's okay, as you said. It's okay not to know everything. Nobody does.
absolutely.
Just verbalize it. Look in the mirror and tell yourself, it's okay. I can make it. It wasn't maybe the best day today, but I can make it better tomorrow.
Okay. Takes me to my favorite point. Prioritize your to-do list. You can never reach the end of it because
No.
you have the shopping list on it. You have this school trips to it. You have the medical appointments, work appointments,
Cooking,
everything.
cleaning,
Cooking, cleaning, everything. So the list will go
laundry,
on.
dishes.
But the 4 simple steps to tackle your priority list. Act on the most priorities, like the top things that you have to do straight away. Schedule. Maybe this is not very important for today. I'll schedule it tomorrow. Delegate. As I mentioned, I used to give tasks to my husband because I was able to finally share with him. And now we have a shared calendar at last. So that helps. And then delete. You overwhelm sometimes yourself with things that are not necessarily in your life. And saying no actually sometimes is a good thing. You don't need to send your child to 3 birthday parties on a Saturday. Whatever works for you. So act, schedule, delegate, delete. My favorite 4 words when it comes to to-do lists.
Yeah, indeed. We talked about being present and how this impacts our lives, but I'm curious, you mentioned something about the 5 minutes list. What's that about?
5 extra minutes rule, which is number 9 on my tips or steps. I have tried that. I love planning so much that to a point, if I have 10 minutes between 2 appointments, I'll plan something, whether that to go shopping or to do something, until I realized it actually isn't correct because it stresses me more. I had 10 minutes once and I thought I'll pop quickly before the school run to grab some milk and essentials. I got stuck in the pain queue, so I was late for my son. And since then, I thought, okay, I need to stop that habit of fitting things in the gaps that are just undoable and add stress to me. So the 5 minutes rule, say you just add 5 minutes to whatever you're scheduled. Say you needed to wake up at 7 and your alarm is 7. Put it for 6:55. Just for you. You don't need to share this with anyone. And then come 7, you would have already been up, ready to start your day with your kids, blah, blah, blah. How I found it more useful is by leaving the house. We leave 8:30 in the morning. If we start heading towards the door at 8:30 in the morning, put our shoes on, we are always out by 8:40 and then we're running to school. So instead, for me, I start gathering their stuff 8:25, take them to the door, 8:30 dot, we're out. Anything, just add the 5 minutes extra to your own schedule, head schedule, and that has done an amazing difference in my own life.
It does indeed.
Like,
I have to say, I used it unconsciously, but I did use it.
it's so good.
Yeah.
Even for a call, if you have a call and you say, oh, 7 p.m., I'm going to be on my desk, I have a call with, I don't know, parents' evening or something, just be there 6:55. Allow yourself that extra 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's a good tip. What else is there in your list of
So the last and not least is breathe. We talked about restarting the computer, and this is what breathing does. Before you react to your children's tantrums, to whatever is happening, because honestly, mom is just an amazing job and it's so hard, let alone doing it with other stuff. And I've mentioned that before, I think at one webinar or with you. Mom in the American way with the O is the reflection of wow.
Yeah,
And it's
it
just
is.
such a gentle reminder. We're wow, we're amazing. You keep doing what you're doing and breathe. 10
Yeah.
simple steps. If you apply to any of the problems and challenges in the life of a motherhood, whether that's budgeting, going back to work, new moms, expectant moms, you may apply all or none or few, but I believe they are the basis that worked wonders with myself and few of the clients.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed, very good points, very good tips, very good insights. Thank you so much, Sally, for today. Thank you, our audience, for following us. You might want to check our episode about problems, where we get into what a problem is and how normal they are in our day-to-day life. Click the like, follow us, and stay with us for more. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for listening and watching us. If you wanted to learn more from both of us, you know where to go. Hit our socials and stay tuned.
Stay tuned, everyone. Thank you very much and have a brilliant day ahead.